I'm not sure that's the most effective use of a jack stand. Just set it next to the car. Laptop number 3 this week is taking a dump. What the hell? Firmware update again.
Pain in the ass.
Now what the hell are you doing?
Well, you remember when that belt threw last year?
Every single time. All these LS things, just everybody shoots belts off.
So, I got lucky. Somebody saw it. It was eating into the
oh shit.
Yeah. So I went to Henry's this morning and got a new line. Yeah.
It's always something.
I can't win with this thing sometimes.
Yeah, like, I'm sure you saw the whole thing's like blown up. Actually go back together?
Yeah.
And you guys like those long dump tubes. Chinese wastegates are leaking CO2 out of the coolant fittings. We don't have any plugs, so we're just going to weld this shut. Kind of ghetto, but it is what it is. So it turns out these are like painted brass. They're not actually stainless, so that didn't go as planned. I'm going to try an actual tile water fitting and see if that's not just some painted trash. Maybe that'll weld. Chinese fitting, tile fittings. Big difference. Alright, I've been going at this way longer than expected to be as far along as I am. The O2s and stuff are doing some stuff that I don't really like, so I've been taking some baby steps and might need plugs. Got a little bit of a misfire. But just a few pounds of boost. There were about 500 so far. Hurry up.
Have you did this on yet? Turn my hands on. Toasty. A little bit. Warm. You got this on there, right?
It's too damn hot out here for this shit.
I remember.
Finally making some progress. There's something you don't see every day. It's got Holley in it too. There's 5 cars here right now with Holley in it. Alright, finally starting to make some progress. I've been running around like crazy messing with multiple cars all day, so haven't gotten a chance to film much, but we'll start now that everything's actually working. Alright, so I didn't get to film as much of this as I would have liked to on the first day, between computer problems and firmware updates and multiple cars and multiple customers here all at the same time, and then troubleshooting some different issues. Didn't leave much time for the camera, but I guess basically I'll kind of explain what we had going on. The first thing was the computer decided to just shut off and took forever to turn it back on. And then once that finally started working, saw we needed to do a firmware update and actually upgrade from V4 software to V5 software, which if you've ever done that with Holley can take 30 minutes, 45 minutes, so it takes a while. Also changed our load from speed density to volumetric efficiency. So basically started all over again on the fueling. And everything was going good, but I kept getting these weird like fluctuations in the closed loop control. And it was just kind of unusual. So I kind of ran back and forth on that a little bit, tried revving it out, and then we started dealing with some misfire problems. So then we had to address that. So once we pulled the plugs out, I guess some plugs were put in just when they were doing fabrication on the car, and they kind of forgot they weren't proper plugs. So I think we got 3 different heat ranges there, and the plugs are from World War II, so we figured that might do it. It didn't. And then we found spark plug wire that's blown up. We have like 6 MSD wires and 2 factory wires. So I thought that would do it. That wouldn't do it either. And then just turns out we had a ground wire that was, geez, I wouldn't even consider it loose, just not 100% tight. Fixed that, everything that was weird went away, and at that point it was basically time to go home. So I'll put this back on the dyno in the next few days, and we'll kind of start all over again, and hopefully we got all the stuff sorted out, and it'll be a little bit smoother sailing next time. Alright, it's been about a week or so since last had this on the dyno. Just kind of got swamped with a whole bunch of other cars. These big power race cars take a lot of time, so I didn't want to rush through it, and waited till I had a chance to spend a little more time with it. So gonna try it again. It's raining. It's insanely humid. It kind of feels like I'm walking around in a bowl of soup. So it sucks in here. And I don't really remember where I left off on this car as far as like video stuff goes. So basically just gonna start all over again. And what is kind of cool is I spent the morning, damn it, I gotta turn the car on. So basically have all of the information that the Holley ECU sees, in which you can look through data logs and stuff. I made some junk and ran it into the CAN bus of the car, and now we can log all the ECU channels through the dyno. So I haven't used this yet, so I'll probably be fumbling around with it trying to figure it out while I do this car, but this is going to make a lot of videos a lot more interesting, I think. So we have the turbos and intercooler up front, and the radiator is actually in the back. And last time it was running really hot without running another fan to it underneath, but yeah, the radiator's back here. I've been playing with idle, injection timing, and some other stuff. It's still running a little hotter than I'd like to see, and it looks like we got a fuel leak now. So I'm going to investigate and see where that's coming from. Hopefully it's something simple. So that's shooting directly onto the header. So thank God we're on the dyno and in a controlled environment, because that could have been really, really bad. That'll do it. I have a used Dash 8 hose here. It's a 90 on one end like that one, straight on this end. That one's a 90. But actually running the straight fitting will help get it away from all the crap that destroyed it in the first place. So I'm going to make up this line, shorten it, and throw that on the car. Alright, this is just a temporary fix, so don't judge me, but it hopefully won't leak now, and we can kind of start making some more progress. Throttle cable broke or came apart. I don't know if I have anything here to fix that. Things aren't going very smooth so far. Basically been trying all day to get a solid baseline run, but haven't been able to do that yet. Just rigged the throttle cable temporarily and see if we can't make like a full pull. The last runs I made, last time it was on the dyno, it was running like $1,000,000, and now it's spitting and sputtering down low and low on power, so something else is going on. I'm gonna try and look it over one more time. Looks like it's working now. Alright, so this is what I've been battling all day pretty much. You can see it just picked up 40,000 horsepower even though air fuel's dead fat. So plug wire, it was enough to be firing, but not firing all the way. And I need a new finger now. I melted mine off. Looks like we can finally get started now. Picked up a few horsepower with a little timing, not enough to keep going, so turn the CO2 on now. So far we're at like 10 psi roughly. Not too bad for just throwing a couple pounds on it. Playing with some ignition compensation stuff. And, let's pull the spark plug out of it. I don't care, whatever's easiest to get to. Probably can't really see that, but just pretend it looks awesome. Picked up about 50 up top with timing. Right at about 700 now. They probably pick up 40 horsepower if you let it cool off for 10 minutes. It's really hot. Fueling's pretty spot on, basically like 0-1% a majority of the way. It touches 2 every now and then, but perfectly okay with that. 15-16 pounds, about 700. Alright, it's Friday, it's about 5:30 or so. We're going to call it a day here. Battery's getting weak. It's 4,000 degrees in here. I'm sweating my balls off. Like, can't even touch the intake manifold. So I just want to let everything cool down rather than trying to rush through it and throw 100 pounds on the top of the gate. But I'll show you a few things that we have going on. Now that I can log ECU data through the dyno, it's really it's redundant because you have all of the same information in the data logs, obviously, but being able to lay it over top of the dyno graph and sort of see it all in one spot and can lay screens out differently. And then there's some other stuff too, but I'll just kind of walk you through a few things that I've played with so far. I mean, most of this stuff's pretty self-explanatory, but you know, always get to see it on a dyno graph. So this will make for some pretty cool testing videos down the road. But between these two runs, you can see timing drops as manifold pressure comes up, peak torque kind of, or as it's ramping up to peak torque, pulled a little bit out. And this one's laying over a little earlier than I'd like to see, so just kind of keep giving it timing upstairs, and it ends up being pretty flat. But yeah, every time I give it timing, it likes it, but I don't really want to go too much higher. Another cool thing, anyone that's dealt with like a dynojet or any dyno like that, like you deal with RPM signal problems all the time. So we're actually able to use the ECU data for the RPM pickup. So obviously, you know, it's 6,100 RPM. And when you use derived RPM, which is calculated, you'll see some deviation due to converter slip. And then I have the OBD2 stuff as well. Unfortunately, I can't run OBD2 in line with HP tuners. So I don't get to use it too often. And then Taco RPM is using, I get a clamp, and then these here. This one works awesome, but it's a little tedious to hook up on certain cars. These ones a little hit or miss. On street cars, it usually works every bit as good as it needs to, but you know, you throw it on a 2,500 horsepower car and it kind of starts dropping out. And then able to see air fuel from the actual ECU, so that's convenient. Everything looks a little choppy because of the scaling in sample rates and stuff, so that's all adjustable. I just haven't had time to play with it. And again, we already looked at, we have closed loop, which we can see what the corrections are, which is pretty good. And then we have manifold pressure from the ECU, about 19 pounds on that one. And then, so I have a handful of different pressure sensors and stuff. So if, you know, can still use these in line if you want to measure pressure from something that the ECU doesn't have, or you want to verify that ECU map sensor is reading correctly. I've had it before where cars will, make 200 horsepower more than they should at a given boost level, and then you find out just the like O-ring for a sensor is bad or something. So it's always nice to have other options. There's all kinds of other stuff that we can do and look at as well, but this is really all I've had time to play with so far. And so yeah, we're let this cool down a few minutes. This will make 800, no problem. And I think we're just trying to get to like 1,000. So I don't know if I'll make it here over the weekend, but if not, I'll try and wrap this thing up on Monday. And here's just some of the ECU channels I had pulled up that I can look at like on this screen while I'm making a run. So these are basically all the ones I would use when I'm not using all this stuff, and I can configure this however I want with basically however many channels I want. Just the more you have, the smaller they get. But ECU RPM, throttle position, manifold pressure, temperatures, lambdas, pulse width, timing, closed loop. But just having the water temperature up on here is really nice. And then obviously I can keep an eye on, as I'm making a run on this screen, I can watch all of the sensor data on this screen. And then again, I haven't set this up for anything else. I'll probably leave this because I do so many other cars as well. But these are all like way faster than these. These get all the processing power. Yeah, there's just an endless amount of data between this and the ECU, and it's a lot of fun to tinker with. Good chance to see how well it cold starts after all those changes. Not too bad. About 23 pounds. Remember how I said I'm being tested? Super convenient timing. Definitely nice and safe on that. Getting there. A little fat on spool up. Everything else looks fine. I'm actually this is actually one of the banks. That's the dyno air fuel, and then over here is the other bank reading through the ECU, and it's a little, you never know if it's just the sensors reading a little bit differently or if the bank to bank's reading a little bit differently, but out of precaution I'm just going off of the leaner of the two, which in this case is the ECU data, and that's where any of our closed loop compensation is going to come from as well. So riding that primarily and just using this for a reference. It's a little bit interesting is it doesn't seem to be laying over quite as hard as we turn it up. Usually it's the exact opposite there. 26 pounds. And need to hire somebody just to hold the camera and pull spark plugs and maybe actually bolt the cars up on the dyno. Anybody want a job? Doesn't pay shit. It won't focus on these, but it's still nice and clean. If all goes as planned, this will be the last run. Here's fuel pressure. Obviously it's just totally tanking, so that's probably going to be the end for this one. I'll look around at a couple things, maybe I'll make one more, but not looking promising as far as the fuel delivery goes. Doesn't necessarily look like it's leaking, but it's melted to all hell. I'm going to slap another fitting on it and try and make one more run. Alright, swapped out some fittings and vacuum hoses and stuff. Poured the last of the fuel that was brought into the tank. I'm going to try and make one more run. I don't have high hopes, but we'll see what happens. The fuel pressure dropped a lot, so I can't help but think like a fuel pump's cutting out or fuel filter's totally clogged or something nasty like that. But cross my fingers, let's see what happens. Alright, I'm calling it quits here. Time to go watch some hockey. And tomorrow I'll get started on this Mustang with Terminator X in it. It's got actually has a Ford motor in it. It's kind of weird. And it's got a turbo kit as well. I made another video just kind of getting this thing started up and running. It's been way too long since I've been trying to get it on the dyno, so we'll do that, and that'll probably be the next video. So if you want to check that one out, make sure you subscribe, and either way, I'll see you next time.